You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
0.9 app.
The Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles. Here's Eddie Garcia.
In the NFL season opener, the Chiefs hold off the Ravens for a 27-20 win in a rematch of last year's AFC title game. The two-time defending Super Bowl champs hold on for the win after Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely's toe was out of bounds in the back of the end zone on the final play of the game. It was ruled a touchdown on the field, but then correctly overturned on video review. Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the win was 20 of 28 passing for 291 yards with a touchdown and an interception. And rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. In baseball games of note, the Braves lose to the Rockies 3-1. Atlanta's loss means they've now dropped into a tie with the idle Mets for the final wildcard spot in the National League. Twins beat the Rays 4-3. Minnesota gains ground on idle Cleveland. They're now 4 back in the AL Central race. Phillies beat the Marlins 5-2. The NL East leaders are now tied with the idle Dodgers for the best record in baseball, both at 84 and 56.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to center and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're powered by Box Eye Care. Box Eye Care, we're powered by them each and every day. But today is not only are we powered by Box Eye Care, we have a free-for-all Friday powered by the pharmacy at Midtown. PharmacyMidtown.com. Go check them out, Pharmacy Midtown. Not your everyday pharmacy, many different types of services, including the traditional services, but also compounding, home delivery, long-term care, medication adherence, medication therapy management, multi-dose packaging, over-the-counter services, and even pet care with your special furry friend in mind. Those services and more, you can find them at the Midtown Village. You can find them there, and go check them out at PharmacyMidtown.com or give them a call at 205-579-9933. It is a beautiful Friday morning, once again, powered by the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's a free-for-all Friday. Hey, what's next for Bama? What's next for the SEC? What's next for NIL? I saw their news about that. All of those things are possible topics. Alabama, will Alabama be number 4? Will they be top 3 by this time next week? Could we potentially have even a 1-2, 1-3 matchup by the time we get to the Georgia game? All of those things are possibilities as Alabama takes on USF on tomorrow. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a couple key matchups in the SEC. The reason I say Alabama could move up, could Michigan right the ship? Could Texas stumble? Either way, even with the loss, Texas is not out of it anymore because they could still win the SEC. So all types of conversations to get to. Yesterday, we had several conversations going. And we were talking about the offense. What would you add to the scheme, game plan this week? would we potentially see a 2 QB system at some point? I'm going to tell you, if I had 2 quarterbacks, I'd figure out how to get them both on the field and make you guess which one is going to be doing what. And now I'll tell you why. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that. I'm just saying. I mean, who knows? We'll talk about it. I want you to remember that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Don't wait on somebody else to do it. You do it. Let's bring in X. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Well, man, there's a lot to get to. It looks like we have some callers that's wanting to get in on the conversation. But before we do that, anything just burning that you want to get to before we get a couple callers in? And before we bring a caller in, let me make sure I remind you that we do have a score prediction contest going on this beautiful Friday morning, and it is the Alabama Legacy Collection score prediction contest. You can get your officially licensed Alabama Legacy swag at athletesthread.com, athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston, or scan the QR code. But get your score in, and the tiebreaker is Jalen Milroe's total yards. And if Keith Holcomb is listening out there, not Keith Holcomb number 42, but Keith Holcomb from Mount Olive, you didn't give me Jalen Milroe's yards yesterday, so you may want to text and chat that back in. All right, X, I'll toss it to you, man. You got anything burning before we get to a couple callers?
I don't know if you've noticed that this week has been a fun week. It's just something. South Florida's Barstool account, their team account, has been having fun with Alabama fans all week on X, doing some hardcore trolling. But it's made this week interesting because, I believe Alabama's going to dominate this game. But just seeing whoever this guy or girl is running this account has been having a blast messing with Alabama fans all week.
I mean, has there ever been a game where you felt like you lost, even though you won the game?
This guy's been doing his best. Whoever's behind this account has been doing their best to make us feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you felt after that game last year. But that game, like I said, I think we sit here today because what happened 12 months ago. Without a doubt. About 12 months ago, the coaching staff, maybe we should have saw that as the beginning of the end. As great as our coach was, Nick Saban, greatest coach to ever walk a sideline. The greatest coach, I don't even think it's a question. He's clearly the cornerstone, first face on Mount Rushmore of coaches. He would not name a starting quarterback. And fortunately for him, he recruited quarterbacks who had good parents. You understand what I'm saying? Like literally, you can go back to he all the way back to AJ McCarron. He wouldn't start AJ McCarron. I mean, he made AJ and Phillip Sims go into the season. And then the situation with Jalen and Tua and then Mac Jones having sticking around. And then, Bryce Young. And, I mean, he was just fortunate. And then last year, Jalen Milroe's parents, most parents in today's culture, especially with the money and all of that, Jalen Milroe would have made so much money if he had went out on the market last year. but he's making some ducky. Everywhere I turn in Tuscaloosa right now, there's a Jalen Milroe statue, commercial, whatever. So he did right. He made the right choice. But Nick Saban was very fortunate, and we are beneficiaries of that in 2024. So, all right, let's get to Pat. Pat, you're in with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Martin. Hey, man, I'm getting excited about this deal. And I got a question for y'all. Y'all just brought something up. If Bama can roll today and roll next week in Camp Randall, then will we have game day in Tuscaloosa? And will this be the game of the century 2.0?
I believe as long as both teams are undefeated, game day will be here when Georgia comes into town. It'd be crazy not to have that. I hadn't looked at any other games that week, but I don't think it gets bigger than Alabama versus Georgia, both teams undefeated. And Bama and Georgia could win both of these next two games by a combined 2 points. Game day will be here at the end of September.
And I got another prediction. If both of them are undefeated, even nosebleed is $300 get in.
Yeah. Well,
because I can remember one of the first games that I've ever been to and went to and tried to go to in Tuscaloosa back years ago when Georgia-Alabama game was $200 to $250 get in then.
Yeah, I don't know that. Listen, I mean, and this is not a shot, but if people were paying thousands of dollars to get in to see WNBA games, Pat, I think you're going a little low on the $300.
Well, no, I'm talking. I'm talking
period. I'm talking period.
Yeah, it might be. I know this. My daughter-in-law sent my tickets for Vanderbilt, and she sent my tickets for this weekend, but she ain't sent my tickets for Georgia.
I have tickets for Georgia too, and my daughter is coming to town. So as an athletic trainer for Georgia, so I may be in the Georgia section. So I'm gonna need Coach DeBoer and his staff to make sure they take care of business, especially if I'm sitting in Georgia staff with legacy gear on, right?
Yeah, you're right. Hey, but Martin, I'm glad that I hope you are sitting in the Georgia section because that's be one less Georgia person there.
Pat, I can tell you, man, I think that the Georgia tickets, if both teams are undefeated and you hold your tickets until that week, there's gonna be an absolute unbelievable price for that for two reasons. One is so many fans are going to want to be there themselves. So the number of tickets available that don't want to be there is going to be, that's the only game that I know that I'm going to this year. I have tickets to every game, 4 tickets to every game. The only game that I know I'm going to is Georgia.
Sure.
And so if I feel that way, I know other fans feel that way. So it's going to be tough to get a ticket. So that's going to drive the prices up. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
One more thing. Hey, prompt deals on Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams prompt deal. Hey, 180 on his yardage.
I got 180 on 7 catches. And so he has 180 on 7 catches. And so I'll tell you, if he gets 180, Milroe might break 400.
Oh yeah, well Milroe's going to have 3.25 plus on passing because he's got something to play.
You had 353 total. I say he goes over 400 if Ryan Williams has 180. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, come back on the other side. We'll keep the conversation rolling. Want to remind you, go check out Box Eye Care. This is the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care, boxeyecare.com. 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive, that new in-house lab will get you in and out, in most cases in under an hour, with a new look, new style, new frames. It's going to be competitive prices, but the same great service that you've always come to expect. That's Box Eye Care powering the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, TGIF to you. We are getting off to a bit of an eventful start right now. Nothing too tight, but on 2059 westbound at Foster's, you do have a fender bender. It's on the right shoulder, so all the main lanes are moving by. Maybe an onlooker delay or two, but not a huge deal for that. Otherwise, we've got
Hit bonus bet prizes. It's your turn to walk away a winner when you play at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos. Must be 21 or older to play.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few periods of rain today and tonight. The high today 78, the low tonight 64. Tomorrow partly sunny with only a small chance of a shower, the high 84. And Sunday, a sunny day with a high at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a free-for-all Friday, powered by the pharmacy at Midtown. Are you ready to empower your team and build a championship culture that drives results? At Martin Houston Speaks and empowerment strategy and solutions, we specialize in transforming organizations from the inside out. Whether you're looking to inspire growth from the top down or energize your team from the bottom up, we bring decades of experience in speaking, training, and coaching to your next event. Our approach is proven, dynamic, and tailored to meet your unique needs and desires, ensuring your team doesn't just learn, but that they change. With our expert guidance, you'll see measurable improvements in performance, collaboration, and morale. Don't just aim for success, build a championship team. To book us, go to martinhoustonspeaks.com and click Book Me. It's Martin Houston Speaks, a division of empowerment strategies and solutions. And it is now time for us to bring in a couple people on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline, 205-342-9904. Tommy from Romulus, thanks for your patience. You're in on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline on this Free-for-All Friday, powered by the pharmacy at Midtown. What's up, man?
How y'all doing this morning?
Good to hear from you, Tommy.
Good.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm not a morning person, but my brother had to go somewhere, and he was frying bacon. And with that bacon fry, I'm up, man. I'm up.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like bacon to wake you up in the morning, man.
Amen.
I know. And J. Rob would call in, and he'll say, the end of the world's coming. Tommy called in at 6.
What's up, Tommy?
I think Melrose tomorrow night is going to have a come-out game. I know you've been hearing all this stuff about, well, Alabama really lost that game deep down last year. But you know what? Melrose didn't play last year. We're trying to find ourselves after the Texas loss. And guess what? They're going to wish they didn't mention Melrose, because I think he's going to have a coming-out game. I really do.
You got a score for us? How many total yards you think Melrose has in this coming-out game, Tommy?
I'm going to say Alabama 52-14. And I'm going to say he's going to have a total rushing passes 403 yards.
All right. I might be right there with you. So
because, last week, I know Pat Love, I numbered a little twos and the next dudes, but, man, I'm impressed with our other receivers, too. I think we're going to open it more to the tight end each game, rest of the season. That ball is going to be flying around, in my opinion. We're going to be controlling the line of scrimmage. I've really seen a lot of good things coming down the road for Alabama.
X.
I agree with you there, Tommy. I think we're really going to open it up. And I think you're going to see some of these other guys get a lot of opportunities. When you look at what Bama did last week, 40-something points on 20 plays, that's going to be hard to duplicate. But I think the more plays we run, the more other guys get involved, and you get to see a little bit of this offense.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tommy. Appreciate that, Tommy. And, hey, man, it's good to hear from you. I know you're not a morning person, but we definitely appreciate you getting up and at 'em with it this morning.
All right, man. Y'all have a great day. Talk to y'all later. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Tommy, 52-14 with 4:03. Also, last week, RS Sport or Blind Squirrel Sport, based on which one he puts it under. Actually, he got pretty close. The old Georgia guy last week, we thought he was crazy, X. He had, what's his name, having 171 yards last week with a 56-13 score. He had Ryan Williams getting 171. So he was, him and Pat were the only two that believed in it. Keith Holcomb just joined us. Keith, want to remind you, Keith out there on the live stream, don't forget to give me your total yards for Milroe so you'll be officially in the contest. Let's get back to the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. Robert from Mobile, you're in, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, I said he get over 100. 105, something like that. That's what it says.
Yeah. Oh, did you go over 100? Let me see. Yeah, Robert, you did. You said 105. Never mind. My bad. Hey, wait me out. 105 from Robert. What you got this week, man?
Man, this game has all the earmarks of a I must crush you game for Alabama.
Let me ask you, Robert, has there ever been a game where Alabama was clearly the most talented team, but they wanted to make a statement in a game? Has there ever been a game in Alabama history where the disparity just from talent and record and legacy, but yet it meant so much to the guys playing the game?
When you talk about the gap, no. Usually the gap is a lot closer than this.
Right.
And so, but no, not when the gap has been this wide. Usually, you have to do everything you can to keep them motivated to want to come out and not, stumble because they're just not motivated for games like this.
And we won last year. Like the last time I remember Alabama wanting somebody like this, and it was somebody that we were superior to, maybe the Ole Miss games when Hugh Freeze was here. All the other games have been like, we're going to get Georgia back, championship level. We're going to get LSU back, championship team. But Ole Miss beating us early in the season would be the closest thing. But Ole Miss, the gap isn't anything like this, and it was an SEC game.
No. Yeah. I've never, it's never been this ginned up for a team when the gap is this wide on talent. Because they know what they did last year. They know last year was a monumental underachievement on their part. And they want to get that. And it's like, you taste something, you try it out, and it tastes terrible. And, you got to do everything you can to get that taste out of your mouth. That taste hasn't gotten out of their mouth yet. And now they get a chance to get that taste out of their mouth. And that's what they want to do right now. Oh, man, you put a bad taste in my mouth. No, this ain't going to be an ordinary game for you. The line has the most to prove, the offensive line, because they were the most abysmal in that game. Ty Simpson has a lot to prove because he wasn't good in that game either. He gets his chance. No one doesn't have anything to prove. It's Milroe, and Milroe's going to go out there and feel like he's got something to prove. The guy who should feel the least about that he got something to prove, it still feels like he's got something to prove.
That's right.
so you are it's a perfect storm.
Robert, I think Jalen might feel like he has the most to prove.
That's what he said.
With as bad as Alabama looked last year, he feels like that might have happened because he didn't play in this game because he lost his spot.
Yeah, that's the thing. He should feel like he has the least to prove, and he still feels like so you got nobody on that team that don't feel like they got a lot to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And X, what Robert is saying is, in reality, when you look at Jalen Milroe's season since that time, he has the least to prove, and he should be able to go into this game feeling that way. But the reality of it is, he may be like you both are saying, he may feel like we're going to make them forget the South Florida game from last year. because we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to do we're going to beat them down as bad this year as they made it look close last year. So I can't wait.
I want the defense to play the exact same way they played last year.
You're right.
In all
Defense,
honesty, 3 points. I want to see that again.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Defense.
Go ahead.
Feel like they should at least improve, and I still think they feel like they got something to prove. Oh, goodness gracious! I'm going to 63. I'm going to go 63-0. I told Ryan 55-7. I don't think they're going to shut this team out. So I'm going to tell you guys 63-0.
What's your total yards for Milroe?
He's not going to play 4 quarters. I'm thinking maybe, that's the only thing going to keep him from getting 400. He's not going to play 4 quarters. I'm going to go 335.
Agree. I think he'll average over 100 yards per quarter is what I think. And I don't think he'll get to 4 quarters. That may be the only reason I don't go to 400 in this game. Anything else before I let you go, Robert?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm more interested in seeing Ty Simpson. That's what I'm most interested to see. He needs to say, hey, the guy, this was a fluke. And I'm going to show you this was a fluke. So I'm really interested in what he does. All right, guys.
All right, thanks, Robert. And Robert brings up a good point. This is a chance for Ty Simpson to get a little redemption as well. And so I hope that when he gets in there, they allow him to play the game a little bit too, X. As we get the break here, he mentioned the defense not having a lot to prove, X. I think the defense actually does have something to prove, not from a score standpoint, but that quarterback made defense look bad last year. He just didn't have enough weapons around him. He got several big 4th downs and different things, and it wasn't like last week's 21-play drive where they had a bunch of backups in. So I think the defense has a little chip on their shoulder as well. Your thoughts before we get to break?
I'm sorry, you cut out on me.
All right, we'll just get the break here. Coming back on the other side, we'll pick that conversation up. We'll get Roll Tide Raleigh is on the line. We'll get him on the other side. We appreciate you being in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, TGIF to you. We are getting off to a bit of an eventful start right now. Nothing too tight, but on 2059 westbound at Foster's, you do have a fender bender. It's on the right shoulder, so all the main lanes are moving by. Maybe an onlooker delay or two, but not a huge deal for that. Otherwise, we've got road...
And these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We want to thank the fine folks over at Taco Casa, TacoCasa.com. Taco Casa, 50 years and counting, man. They've been doing it the right way for a long, long time. Quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in T-Town and around. 6 locations in Tuscaloosa in West Alabama. One up in Birmingham off of Lakeshore Drive. That's Taco Casa, Taco Casa. Go check them out. Get the sopapillas. You can get the Sancho, which is one of my favorites. So go check them out. They have the taco salad as well and a whole lot more. And then whatever you get, just wash it down with a big glass of that sweet tea on that shaved ice. That's Taco Casa, TacoCasa.com. All right, X, we're going to get back to the phone lines. Love it on this Free For All Friday, powered by the pharmacy at Midtown. I got a lot of people trying to get in, so let's get to one of our newer callers. Would be Roll Tide Raleigh. You're in with Martin and Xavier on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man. Is this your first time calling?
No, I was calling as Stephen and Raleigh. I've called one or two at a time.
Yeah,
and I kind of threw in the Roll Tide Raleigh. I changed it on Ryan's show. Yeah.
I like it.
Normally, I'm not calling this early, but I'm driving to Tuscaloosa as we speak for the game this weekend.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, first and foremost, we pray for safe travels here and back. And then hopefully you have a good experience when you get here.
Thank you so much. I plan on it. My nephew's in school there, so we're staying at his apartment. Anyhow, Martin, the defense, this defense, I was very impressed with it last week. And it was super vanilla. And then I think about South Florida. South Florida played a very dysfunctional Alabama team at this point of the season last year. And yeah, I mean, we weren't who we became yet.
Right.
And that's an offense that with South Florida, even though we had trouble with their quarterback, but still only put up 3 points, Martin.
Yeah.
And in their home stadium under, bad weather and all kind of stuff. I just think I still think we're very vanilla this week. Because we don't have to show. I think you'll see that we out-athlete them, And last week's game, Martin, I saw coaching all over that field. You could see the players are getting the kind of coaching from the assistant coaches. I'm not saying Coach Saban was a bad coach or anything. I'm just saying the quality of his assistant coaches maybe wasn't what we were used to those last few years.
It was on a decline. It was on a decline.
And you could really see the coaching last week that those players were getting. So Rousseau was all over the place. Number 11, the middle linebacker, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Campbell. Hey, listen, you're like me, Roll Tide Raleigh. I struggle, man, because I tell people I already
Jihad Campbell, all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, you and I are about the same age.
Numbers. I had to learn all the new numbers last week. I was like, okay, this is okay. Now, who was that last year? That's not him. That's a different.
Yeah. Deontay Lawson running around with a 0 on his thing,
Yeah.
It takes a little getting used to, Martin.
And Jalen Milroe's playing outside linebacker, right?
Jalen Milroe's over there playing both ways, running for touchdowns and sacking folks.
Oh, man.
But, people... Yes, sir. Good.
You go ahead.
People are talking about Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe at this point in the season, I know he didn't play in this game last year, but Martin, he only had like 3 starts under his belt. He was a first-time ever starter. He started against Texas A&M the year before, but quite frankly, Bill O'Brien did not set him up for success in that game, in that Texas A&M game 2 years ago. And, now Jalen Milroe has been playing for a whole season. He's got playoff experience under his belt, and now he's got finally, I think, probably the best quarterback coach he's had in ever. I think it's going to play out on the field here in the future. Where people are going to be more and more aware of who Jalen Milroe is here in the future. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, X.
I agree with that. The experience that Jalen was able to gain throughout the course of the season last year versus just a few starts under his belt. And I think Coach DeBoer, Coach Sheridan, they've 100% bought in on what Jalen does well. And you're going to see the results of that throughout the course of the season.
Roll Tide Raleigh, one of the things I tell people all the time in life, if you rob someone of their identity, no matter how good they are at a thing, it's hard for them to be good because they don't know who they are, right? Last year's staff, for 3 years, this young man was here, and every coach he had robbed him of his identity. wanted him to be something that he wasn't. Okay? Even if you go into last year, even though he was a starter, we were still trying to make him something that he wasn't. You have a staff that came in now who said, okay, we looked at last year, and all you've heard, talk about is the tools that Jalen Milroe brings to the table. This coach, let this sink in. This coach coached a player last year that threw for almost 5,000 yards. But the first thing he said after watching film and seeing Jalen Milroe was he brings tools to the table like we didn't have last year. And he started building the quarterback, the offense, and this team around that. Then they looked at defense. After one game, do you feel like you know the identity of Alabama football better than you did halfway through last season?
Martin, we only rushed 4 players the entire game, 3 or 4 players the entire game last week. And yes, we only got 1 sack. But look at the batted balls that we had.
Yes.
Because we lead the country in batted. We had 4 batted balls, if I'm not mistaken.
James Smith is tied for the lead in the SEC, and he's a defensive tackle.
You know what? You know the first note I made, Roll Tide Riley? You know the first note I made? I always make notes of what I want to talk about, and somehow I hadn't talked about it all week. The first note I made last week, based off of the Alabama game, I'm going to read it word for word for what I did. Very first note, WK, batted balls. That was the first note I made. In a takeaway from the game. And so you're so right. Hey, do you have a score for us, Roll Tide Riley, before we let you go?
Yes, sir. I fully believe in this defense, but until they prove me wrong, it's going to be 56-0. The defense not giving up anything until they prove me different.
All right, what about Jalen Milroe's yards?
You know, I agree with you guys on the no fourth quarter, but I still think I'm going 383. I don't think it'll get to 4, but close enough.
All right. Hey, man, we appreciate you, Rob.
Yes, sir, guys. Roll Tide. I'll be in touch soon.
Safe
Yes, sir.
travels, man. All right. Give us a shout out next week, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from your experience here in T-Town. All right, before we get to break here, let's get to Joey from Tuscaloosa. You're in on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline with Martin and Xavier.
Yeah, good morning, Martin. I just was going to, he mentioned, but it was still hadn't been discussed much about last year's game. It was in a horrible weather. I mean, they forget it was pouring. The other thing, we had that lacrosse genius as offensive coordinator. I mean, no wonder. You go look back at Simpson's numbers. The numbers were good based on the plays he was given.
Yeah, there's so many bad things. There's so many things bad in that game. I still see that the one of Buckner's first passes, Joey, I thought somebody tipped the ball.
The one that fell short of Burton.
Yeah, I thought somebody tipped the ball because it left his hands and died. I was like, was it? That's where you rewind the TV and say, okay, well, no, nobody tipped.
And on television, we see the rain some, but we don't. I don't remember what the wind was. I'm not going to defend. Not defending Buck, the other quarterback, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know how strong that wind was.
Well, I would have. I don't know that it was raining when he was in.
That's possible. But again, I thought Simpson did well based on what he was told to do. They only called something like 9 or 10 passes for him.
Well, he got sacked 5 times, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's the offensive line again. It was not. So I just thought, just to defend Simpson a little bit, because nobody had been mentioning that it was in a storm in the second half.
Well, first of all, I don't think Simpson. I don't fault Simpson. Simpson did what he was asked to do in the environment he was asked to do it in. My problem was there never should have been a competition, and Jalen Milroe never should have been benched. Texas ended up being. We played a top 4 team week 2. And if you go back and look, even though Milroe made mistakes in that Texas game, every time after he made a mistake, he took the team down and scored a touchdown and got the points right back. Everybody forgets that. Our problem was that our defense kept giving up big plays and couldn't get off the field. And don't forget, we also had the 4th down where we had Texas stop and they fumbled the ball. And because they fumbled the ball, they pick it up and get a 4th down. I mean, it was so many freaky things. And so the score ended up, everybody had like Alabama got blown out. It was a 10-point game when they had multiple turnovers and they looked like they outplayed us. But the reality of it is, Joey, my problem never was with Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson is going to be an elite quarterback. I think Ty Simpson will be a top draft pick if he sticks with Alabama. Okay. My problem was that coaching staff last year did this team, the fans, Jalen Milroe, and this entire offense a disservice by not naming Jalen Milroe the starter early in spring and giving him all the reps he needed to be ready to play against Texas. If they had done that, we beat Texas. They didn't.
For sure, but
he going into that Texas game, he had probably the number of snaps that the other starters would have coming out of spring, much less out of summer.
And I'm also a believer. I'm going to jump a little bit. With a decent center, we would have beat Michigan. How many? The number is not how many times did he roll it back to the quarterback or offside. How many times did he get the ball to his belt?
Yeah, right.
Well,
probably 2 or 3 the entire game.
Joey, I'll tell you this. Somebody went through and watched every game after the season and every snap, and Seth McLaughlin had 37 snaps that rolled back to Jalen or were barely off of the ground.
Yeah.
As I complained all last year, that's an embarrassment. I mean, you might say the first game, but that should have been fixed. You could have taken a high school quarterback and he'd have been getting it there.
Yeah, you mean high school center? Yeah. Hey, Joey, do you have a
high
score?
School center.
Yeah.
I think 55-13.
55-13. Milroe's total yards.
295.
All right. Thanks, Joey. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, coming back on the other side, we'll put the finishing touches on this free-for-all Friday brought to you courtesy of the pharmacy at Midtown. We'll be back in just a moment to keep it rolling right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Friday morning, it's the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m. coming to you live from Innisfree Irish Pub on University Boulevard. Technically, they don't open until 11 a.m., but we'll be there at 9, and I bet you'll let you in if you want to come by. We'll have Adam Amin from Fox Sports. I'll have my SEC point spread predictions, our Bama football trivia, giveaway contest, and much more. It's going to be fun on Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Friday morning. The University of Alabama Board of Trustees have officially approved naming the playing surface at Bryant-Denny Stadium after retired head football coach Nick Saban. There will be 2 ceremonies marking the occasion tomorrow, one at the Walk of Champions at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon, and the other at halftime of the Tide USF.
Risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, powered by Boxside Carriage. Martin and Xavier, and we want to thank the fine folks over at the venue Tuscaloosa. Go check them out. They will take care of you. It's Tuscaloosa's new favorite hangout. The venue, whether you're looking to get food, music, and a whole lot more, they have Liza's Sweet Shop. where you have those sweet treats and specialty pizzas. Finney's Pub and high-quality food there. Also, you can get all-day breakfast and burgers from Rama Jammas at the venue. It's the perfect spot for any occasion. And don't forget, they have their fifth quarter hangout tonight. Not for kids. It's not a kid hangout. It's a family hangout for after the game. Get you a great meal post the high school games that are happening around Tuscaloosa. A big game at Hillcrest tonight as Hoover travels down. And then, of course, Bryant traveling over to Central. Former Alabama wide receiver Coach Jones taking his Stampede in to face the Falcons. That was our West Alabama High School game of the week. All right, X, as we put the finishing touches on this edition of the program, we got some rapid fire want to get to. Want to thank all the comments over here happening in the chat. One of those games we'll talk about really quick will be, of course, the Georgia team that I think there's a collision course happening between the Tide and the Dogs coming up. But Bam Bam 72 got it 45-10 Miro with 375 total yards. And he's calling a big game for K-Law X, 10 catches, 160 yards. What's your thoughts on who's going to be that breakout guy this week?
That's a good question. I think it'll be Kendrick Law this week. I think we saw Ryan Williams. I think South Florida will try to focus on him, and I think Law will do a lot of damage out of that slot.
Yeah, I think K-Law has a big game. I thought it was interesting that we didn't see a lot of plays, but what they did manage to get in those few and limited plays, X, was a reverse to K-Law.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just think about everything we saw in that game. K-Law, reverse. Jalen Miro caught runs, deep ball, run game, breaking tackles, pressure from the deep. We saw everything you want to see, even though people saying, it was just against Western Kentucky. Well, Western Kentucky is picked to win the Conference USA, and they're a D1 school. And we did what we're supposed to absolutely dominate. So we'll start with the Alabama game. What do you have the score being?
I have the score being 49 to 10. But just real quick on this game, and Jalen Milroe, I think he'll get 338 yards total. But I don't know if it's been talked about. Did you see where Tyler Booker was practicing some at left tackle this week?
I've been saying that Tyler Booker should be our left tackle to begin with, but and they said they're going to get the best five out there, and the best five may be Vandermark at guard and Booker at left tackle. Or they may just be creating depth with that move because chemistry is so important with the O-line. So we'll be watching that as the game kickoff. X. My score. Listen, nobody's giving the kicker any love, man. We're gonna actually get a couple field goals in this game. But once again, I started to go with 60 points last week and I backed out. I'm 62 again. And I'm going to give them 13. I think they're going to get a couple field goals and maybe a touchdown. And Jalen Milroe with 337 yards. Just one under yours, X. Hey, let's do a quick jaunt around the SEC or maybe even the nation. But let's start with Texas and Michigan. That's a big game, man. Who you got?
It is a huge one. I think Michigan isn't going to have enough offense to be able to hang with Texas, so I'm giving Texas the win.
All right. Well, hey, listen, we got to pick on the guys across town. I have Texas winning that one too. I think Michigan is getting national championship love by being a top 10 team. Anyway, when you look at Auburn, even their quarterback, Thorne said he feels bad for anybody that had to watch that game last year, and he apologized. That's how bad it was. But Auburn in California, is Auburn living on the hype of beating Alabama? Was it A&M and getting 70-something points? Do they do the same against Cal?
They do not do the same against Cal, but that's just because Cal is a P4, P5 team. I can't remember what conference they're in now. But I think they do get the win, but it's a lot closer game.
All right. Big game, man. Arkansas upgraded at quarterback, it appears, with their win last week. I know that was Arkansas Pine Bluff, but, man, their quarterback, Green, seems to be legit. Does Arkansas upset the favorite from the Big 12, Oklahoma State?
Where's it at?
It's at Oklahoma State.
Man, that's going to be tough going on the road in that environment. They've got one of the best running backs in the country, if not the best running back in the country, in Ollie Gordon. I think Arkansas keeps it closer than some people will give them credit for.
Did you see Arkansas's quarterback?
Yeah, he's like 6'7" and runs like a gazelle.
Yeah, I'm Arkansas upsets the apple cart. Bobby Petrino helps to right the ship that he helped to wreck. All right. Of course, we'll give Georgia a little love. They were talking about how bad Georgia beats them on the chat. Does Georgia get into the 60s? They usually don't like to run up the score.
Who are they playing? I hadn't even seen their schedule this week.
Tennessee Tech.
Oh yeah, they destroy them. I don't think it matters if they try to run up the score or not. They're going to run up the score.
Yeah, and Ole Miss, man, they had Furman last week, Middle Tennessee this week, and Wake Forest in week 3. They may have the most total points of the year. Do they hit 70 again?
No, they don't hit 70, but they get in the 50s easily.
Listen to their first 4 games: Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. They're gonna have they're gonna have food gold by the time they get to that. Hey, another quick one: Oklahoma and Houston, former old foes. You got Oklahoma or Houston?
Oklahoma. Houston got embarrassed last week by UNLV. I think Oklahoma runs away with it.
What about Tennessee and NC State?
A lot closer game for Tennessee this week, but I don't know if Grayson McCall and Kevin Conception are enough to keep this game in the Wolfpack favor.
All right. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow they're going to be honoring Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny. Congratulations, Coach. We appreciate 17 awesome years and a foundation to make another great run with Kalen DeBoer. Game number 2 under Kalen DeBoer, South Florida coming to town. I got it 62-13, 337 for Jalen. Xavier has it 49-10, 338. Either way, Alabama redeems last year's horrible performance. Ty Simpson even gets in on act and gets a couple of those touchdowns. This is Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. It has been the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. As we get out of here, I invite you to join us at Harvest Church on Sunday at 10 a.m., worship and word, and 9 a.m., small group Bible study. Roll Tide out there, and remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and we'll catch you on Monday with Kenneth Smith III as we update you after Bama's second big win. Roll Tide, everybody.